7. Barrett outside, the switch. Doncic goes, oh, what a great step! And then he hammers it home! Broke his ankles!
As you guys know, Donovan Mitchell is a star-studded basketball player that's a 3-level scorer with tons of athleticism, and he would just bring tons of electricity to Madison Square Garden. A fantastic player. I'm not going to say he's a superstar because I feel like that term is thrown around a little too much in my opinion. There's only a few superstars in the entire NBA world, but no doubt about it, if we go on a trade for Donovan Mitchell, we would be a better basketball team. And the New York Knicks are interested in trading for Donovan Mitchell. It's not set in stone that Donovan Mitchell will definitely be a New York Knicks via trade, even though it looks like reports may be pointing that way, that the New York Knicks have the best assets to give up. But you never know, another team could come out of nowhere and say, you may value our picks more because we have more unprotected draft picks, and you may value our young players more and their potential. So the New York Knicks obviously have put RJ Barrett off the table, and they've put Quentin Grimes off the table when it's been coming to trading for a Donovan Mitchell. And despite Donovan Mitchell being an all-star, a very good basketball player that would help our team at least on paper, we would have to wait and see how it is out there on the basketball floor. There's going to be an adjustment when it comes to sacrifice upon these players because the personnel will be a lot different, adjusting from a Kemba Walker, an Evan Fournier, an RJ Barrett, a Julius Randle, and a Mitchell Robinson to, for example, a Jalen Brunson, a Donovan Mitchell, and RJ Barrett, a Julius Randle if he's still here, which I think he will be back unless the whole Westbrook thing goes down, and then a Mitchell Robinson. Different play styles. You need to put your players in the position to be successful, hide their weaknesses, and play them throughout their strengths, and really insert them in the right system. So when it comes to chemistry, when it comes to meshing, when it comes to sacrifice roles, for example, Julius Randle, how will his play style be? Again, you could have one of the best players in the world, but if there's not players willing to sacrifice, and you don't mesh, and if you don't build chemistry, and you're not all on the same page, it kind of means nothing. You're not going to have that much team success. At least Donovan Mitchell will get his numbers, but as a team, how will this team be? And how will this team be constructed if the New York Knicks do go on to trade for Donovan Mitchell? And there's no hate towards him. He's an amazing player, but we're going to be getting into it. Let's go, y'all. So the first thing we're going to be talking about is what do we give up for Donovan Mitchell? Like I mentioned, RJ Barrett is completely off the table, and a guy of Quentin Grimes is also off the table, but you're still going to have to give up some young assets. The Utah Jazz are asking for draft capital as well, especially after seeing that they could get 5 first-round draft picks for Rudy Gobert from the Minnesota Timberwolves and get some solid players in exchange as well. They're going to be like, all right, we got 5 first-round draft picks for Rudy Gobert. Possibly we can get more for Donovan Mitchell. We know Danny Ainge aims really high. He tries to get as much back as possible. Doesn't mean it's completely going to happen. I believe they are going to meet in the middle. If a trade does go down, again, you never know. Another team may go on to trade for Donovan Mitchell. The Miami Heat could easily maybe like acquire some draft capital from another team, and then it can go on to happen. I'm not trying to be negative. I'm just saying anything is possible in the NBA. We've seen crazier things happen with the New York Knicks. We've seen crazier things happen across the league. So Obi Toppin is definitely going to be discussed there. Emmanuel Quickly, definitely going to be discussed. I don't know how much they value Cam Reddish. He will be on an expiring deal, though. This would be his last year, and then you would have to pay Cam Reddish. So maybe they do like the way his contract is set up, possibly, because you wouldn't have to pay him a lot because he hasn't proven to stay healthy, and when you haven't proven to stay healthy consistently, there's not a defined role, especially with him in Atlanta. There's still some untapped potential there. Do I think he's the freaking next Paul George still, like other fans do? No, but I still think he could have a quality role in the NBA. Obviously, you would have to throw Evan Fournier's contract in there for it to match. So possibly we might have to give up Obi Toppin and Emmanuel Quickly, but it also depends on the picks. We would give up less picks if we give up more young players. At least in my opinion, that's the way I'm looking at it. So let's say we do trade 4 first-round picks. They meet in the middle. We give up Emmanuel Quickly. We give up Obi Toppin. And let's say we give up Evan Fournier. And maybe we throw Reddish in there. Maybe we don't. You could pick that or treat that either way there. If you want Cam Reddish to stay or if you want to go on to trade him. All right, so there's a concern if we trade Obi Toppin. Julius Randle's obviously still here. So who's our backup 4 going to be? How will our depth be if we go on to trade our young players? Just thinking about our depth, Miles McBride, some people think he might be in that trade as well. Not sure how much they value him. Gets after defensively, but he can't break guys down off the dribble. I think he's still gonna have a good amount of time in the G League, or he may be sent down to the G League. I don't see him getting much time, in my opinion. Even if Cam Reddish stays, he hasn't proven to stay healthy. I know he brings elements we don't have. When he's locked in, he's a good defense player. Again, when he's locked in, it comes down to his motivation. He's a good athlete, solid shot creator, still has work to do, But yeah, he could be a solid bench piece. But at the end of the day, he has to stay healthy. Derrick Rose, impactful, but he has to stay healthy. Isaiah Hartenstein, I like his passing ability. I like the versatility he brings offensively. Good rim protector, brings us something different. Jericho Sims, I like him. His discipline needs to get better defensively. Good, he sets good hard screens. He's athletic. He still has work to do. It's just when you take a look at this bench, it's not that great. We keep Quentin Grimes. It's obviously going to help out our bench, but is it Faron Hunt? He's probably not going to play. He'll be on a two-way. Like, this bench is not that good, in my opinion. Like, especially if you factor in the health. Again, you never know what's going to happen with injuries, but do you really trust this bench? Do you trust this bench? Like, a bench is still very important, especially the minutes Tom Thibodeau hands out there. These players are going to be fatigued at some moment, and you need to go to some type of spark plug. Obi Toppin and Emmanuel Quickly, even though Obi never consistently got fantastic minutes if we go on to trade him, he still provided some nice sparks when he was on. Quickly was literally our spark plug. Grimes could be our spark plug as well, but we're going to have to be able to go to someone else offensively if they're not consistently cooking. That could be D Rose, but he's continuing to get older. You can't say he's getting better. You could say he's getting better when it comes to his jump shot. His jump shot has been developing throughout his career. So there kind of is the concern with the bench. And maybe we go on to sign a Carmelo Anthony, like maybe for depth purposes at the power forward position. But yes, you could say there's a concern there when it comes to the bench. Now it comes down to the ceiling. Are we just like giving up our entire future to compete, try to go after that Larry O'Brien trophy right away? I don't necessarily think that's the whole perspective with Leon Rose, because he does a good job acquiring picks for the future. I will give him credit there. He's done that so far. If this goes on to work out the Donovan Mitchell trade, maneuvering, getting these picks on draft night, how much do the Jazz really value these draft picks? Obviously, Ian Begley said we have 8 tradable first-round draft picks. Some of those are protected. They're looking for unprotected draft picks. But not like we wouldn't have draft picks at all, because you can't trade your own picks in back-to-back years. But the reason why I say, like, I'm going to go a little away from the negative side of things here. So if you look at this team now, would this team go past the second round? Can you compete with the Bucks? Can you compete with the Celtics? Can you compete like with the best of teams in the Eastern Conference? How far would this team go? That's obviously the true question here. And I feel like this team goes as far as RJ Barrett grows and goes as a basketball player. So it's a big what-if game. It really is. If RJ ends up playing like an all-star, maybe this team's going to shock people and go farther than they think. Again, we'll have to wait and see. It's a wait-and-see game here when it comes to RJ's development. So I'm not going to say this is a second-round exit, because you never know with RJ Barrett, but then you never know with Julius Randle. If he doesn't sacrifice his role, he continues to shoot fadeaway jumpers. And I'm interested to see how Tom Thibodeau utilizes Randle in the starting lineup and how his play style is going to be, adding a Donovan Mitchell, having a Jalen Brunson, even though I think Brunson fits into any type of system. So what's our ceiling? Mitchell will be under contract until 2025, so we will have time to figure it out. But we will need a huge leap from RJ Barrett. And maybe, I don't want to trade RJ Barrett. I hope he works out. He was our 3rd overall pick. Hope we're able to go on, give him an extension and all that. Even though I think RJ will be extended if we go on a trade for Donovan Mitchell. If RJ doesn't pan out and he improves, but he doesn't end up improving to the point that the Knicks organization wants him to, you can get trade value out of RJ. You could trade him. The same thing with Randle if he doesn't pan out. So I don't think a ceiling's really capped out. In my opinion, it's kind of a wait and see game. But let's say worst case scenario, RJ doesn't really improve that much. Maybe no team's really that interested in RJ Barrett, and we just cap out when it comes to the second round. Something like that. But you never know. I believe it is a wait and see game when it comes to how far this team goes. But did we end up giving up a good amount of our future? Obi Toppin ends up flourishing in a bigger role. Emmanuel Quickly, just worst case scenario, Emmanuel Quickly ends up being a star-studded or ends up being a very good point guard. Obi Toppin ends up living up to like what we thought he was going to be as a starter, because we thought Randall was going to end up being gone if we went on to draft an Obi Toppin. And we gave up our entire future just to improve one round, and then we're kind of stuck in a pickle again. Even though Donovan Mitchell's only 25 years of age, he can get better with his basketball IQ. I don't know if his stats will improve. So there are definitely some positives, there are definitely some negatives when it comes to that situation. Alright, now getting into the segment that's actually one of my favorites. A lot of people have concern about the 6'1" backcourt lineup, and there definitely is an area of concern. When you take a look at Jalen Brunson, 6'1", take a look at Donovan Mitchell, 6'1". So Mike Conley, Donovan Mitchell were very successful in the regular season, but when it came to defensive playoff time, even when Mike Conley became healthy, their defensive perimeter defense was just extremely awful, and Donovan Mitchell has a huge part to do with that. I know he puts a lot of effort towards the offense side of the basketball. All the excuses I've heard is that Donovan Mitchell gave up on his team, and you just shouldn't give up on your team. I really don't care if you want out of a situation. That is a loser type of mentality. I hope that isn't true. But he got abused on the defense side of the basketball. If it was by Jalen Brunson, if it was by Spencer Dinwiddie, perimeter defense, his discipline was awful. He wasn't taking on a challenge. I did not like it. I really didn't. I know he put up his points offensively. I really do understand that. But defensively, he was really bad. And when he tries, he's a solid defender. He's very strong. Jalen Brunson's strong as well, but there's only so much he could do on the defense side of the basketball because he has a limited wingspan, limited height. Certain personnel is going to be able to shoot over him. It's a tall, athletic league with tons of length. So you're definitely going to be abused with certain mismatches and certain switches out there on the basketball floor. It's just facts. You're going to be able to get yours at times, but not consistently. And when you're taking a look at the way this New York Knicks lineup is constructed, there's going to be a huge load defensively for RJ. RJ is going to have to get back to year 2 defensive RJ because he struggled last year, in my opinion. He took on big assignments. You could say he fell off towards the end of the season because of injuries, but no question about it, he needs to take a huge leap because there's going to be a bigger load on him. Randall's going to have to go back to full effort playing hard defensively. Mitch is going to have to continue to become more disciplined because he has potential to be a very good outside on the perimeter defender, a good rim protector. But obviously offensively, these guys play bigger than they actually are, with Donovan Mitchell's above the rim athleticism, being able to get to the cup at will, 3-level score, tons of moves in his bag. Jalen Brunson, nice hesitation moves, one of the most efficient finishers in the league, mid-range oriented, can knock down shots when he needs to from the outside. But there's just going to be concerns when you're 6'1" on the defense side of the basketball. I think they're going to be a great 1-2 punch when it comes to the offense side of the basketball. You just hope that they really just try their ass off and really compete on that side of the ball. So the next final segment I'm going to be talking about, it's kind of a two-parter here. It comes down to the basketball IQ side of things. Do we have the right players? Do they have a good feel for the game? Because I feel like you have to consistently make the right basketball play. You got to be able to feed off your teammates. You got to be able to have great energy. You got to be able to trust your teammates. You got to have that great chemistry on this basketball team, especially Donovan Mitchell. Donovan Mitchell's basketball IQ means the most if he's going to be that number one option, because him in Utah is a very interesting situation because he didn't have that megastar next to him. I'm not saying the Knicks have a star next to him, but maybe you could say from a pure talent perspective, the New York Knicks may have more talent in that starting lineup than he did have with the Utah Jazz. It just comes down to the gelling. It comes down to the chemistry, because the talent sometimes doesn't mean anything if there's not good chemistry there, if the offense isn't run properly, and you're not being played throughout your strengths. So when you take a look at the feel for the game and the IQ when it comes to the starting 5 of the New York Knicks, I think it's extremely important to be on the same page. And Donovan Mitchell in Utah, maybe you could say he played a little too much hero ball. There was tons of situations that he made the right basketball play, and I'm like, that's a nice read. He has the vision, and when he trusts his teammates, they're a very deadly team. But then there's other times that he's like, you know what, I'm taking over this game. Yes, we only may be down 5 and there's 2 minutes left. Plenty of time to come back with few possessions in this game, or a good amount of possessions, but I'm going to try to cut this 2 right off the bat by pulling up from the logo despite someone cutting and despite someone being open on the left wing if it's Jordan Clarkson on fire all game. So there is kind of that factor to him that he wants to be that it factor type of player. Where I want him to be at his best is that he recognizes towards the end of games, guys are blitzing him, or defensive players are blitzing him, and there's going to be a lot of pressure taken off of him, or there's going to be a lot of pressure taken off of his teammates because the defenses are going to be keen in on him, and a Jalen Brunson's on fire all game, or RJ Barrett. Make the key basketball play, find someone cutting, and just really navigate someone with your eyes and hit him open on the left wing, or hit him open in the corner, and make the right basketball play. Because Donovan Mitchell has a good basketball IQ. I just feel like there's kind of that hero ball factor when it comes to him. He's 25 years of age. He can get better when it comes up here. I understand he has that killer mentality. That's one of the main reasons I think he's built for New York. No moment is too big for him. So I think it's going to be very interesting to see how he meshes with these players on the New York Knicks and how that chemistry really builds, because I feel there's some growth to be made when it comes to decision making on this New York Knicks team. And even Donovan Mitchell, he's made questionable passes if it's in the playoffs or some regular season games as well, that has thrown away some games for the Utah Jazz. But you could also say him making those questionable decisions, throwing away the game, he's the huge reason they're in that game in general, at least on the offense side of the basketball. So Jalen Brunson, I feel like he fits into any system. Solid playmaker, manipulates defenders well with his eyes. He's a very good playmaker, or not very good. He's an above average playmaker. He can make very good reads out there on the floor through the pick and roll. He recognizes mismatches, recognizes guys cutting. He does a solid job passing the basketball. I'm not going to say he's elite, but he's a very good passer. He makes above average reads. I think that's what I'll say with Jalen Brunson. I feel like he can fit into any system. And then you take a look at Donovan Mitchell. Like I mentioned, when he wants to, he can make the right reads if he trusts his teammates. And you take a look at an RJ Barrett. RJ Barrett, Brunson plays with a good pace. And I feel like RJ Barrett, what he needs to improve at is playing at the right pace consistently and recognizing what he's so good at, which is getting to the basket. Yes, he needs to get better at finishing at the basket, but he puts so much pressure on the defense of getting into the teeth of the defense. Same thing with the Jalen Brunson, that it's going to open up so much for his teammates on the perimeter or even dumping it down low. And I feel like he has to consistently recognize that. But it's not just when it comes down to his playmaking, he has good vision. It comes down to just maybe that's not the best shot. Sometimes he could force off balance, awkward, like off 1 foot floaters or push shots. I'm like, that's not the best shot. So his shot selection, consistently recognizing what he is and how valuable it can be to his team. It just comes down to consistently doing it and making the right basketball play. Julius Randle is definitely the biggest question mark when it comes to feel for the game, because he can't sense a double team. You could say those double teams are going to go away with Donovan Mitchell, but maybe they throw at him to really get the Knicks offense into shambles, because we know when opposing teams get into Julius Randle's head, it kind of is a wrap. And Julius Randle does not play good when he's angry. And is he still going to be forcing like fadeaway jumpers or these contested shots outside on the perimeter that he's like, yep, I'm capable of doing this because I did this a couple years ago? It comes down to the sacrifice with Julius Randle. And is he going to become smarter as a basketball player? He's lean. I appreciate the work he's putting in this offseason, but is he becoming smarter as a player? And Mitchell Robinson's not really someone you're asking him to pass out of the low post or pass out of the high post and make these fantastic reads or anything like that. But when it comes to the feel for the game, it comes down to Randle, it comes down to RJ, it comes down to Mitchell Robinson for me. Or not, it comes down to Donovan Mitchell, it comes down to RJ Barrett to Julius Randle, just making the right basketball plays, really trusting each other. These are just my opinions at the end of the day. If we do go on a trade for Donovan Mitchell, I think it's going to be a wait and see game. It's just like we traded for one of the best players in the league, and hopefully we make this work. I feel like that's going to be their approach. But at the end of the day, you get talent, but it comes down to how they mesh together. Let me know down below your thoughts. I really appreciate you guys, and peace out, yo.